You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
That is very true, but it's not as bad as the Foreign Affair podcast. Sure, why not?
Is it really though?
That's debatable. Welcome everyone to the Foreign Affair podcast. My name is Edward Green, and I'm joined as always by my call in crime, Wes Bradshaw. Another fantastic edition. What's sure to be a great episode of the Foreign Affair podcast.
You just hear her crunching like nonstop now.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. You can't sit here and crunch on ice the whole time. You gotta be quiet and no more crunch on ice. Give me the ice.
No, I pinky promise I won't crunch.
You hear the shit? All right, first crunch, I'm breaking your pinky off then. Is that how that works?
That is how that works, yes.
That's how I thought it worked. First. Give me that pinky.
Meeting.
God, is this the mysterious third host? Is it an 8-year-old little girl who knows nothing about soccer but knows that she's the same age as Steven Gerrard's jersey number?
That's true.
This is her Gerrard year, but the way she's acting right now, it's about to turn into her Naby Keita year, which means she's going to be injured soon. Boom!
Poor Naby Keita.
Poor Naby.
Poor
I
Naby.
love Naby. I actually voted on the athletic poll that said that we should give Naby more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Wes Bradshaw, the eternal optimist.
I am the eternal optimist. It'll come good. Dude, if it was up to me, I'd still be saying, Alberto Aquilani, you know what? If he could just stay healthy for a run of matches.
Can you check your microphone real quick, just to see if it's plugged in all the way? It's just, I'm getting a little bit of scratchiness, but otherwise, I don't know, maybe it's your connection, but I think it might just be the microphone.
How about now?
Oh, that sounds good.
That's better. Okay. I just kind of did a few adjustments.
Just turn it on, turn it back on again. All right. Welcome. This is the Foreign Affair Podcast, episode 313, presented by NGSC Sports at NGSCsports.com. We never stop, even when literally everything else in the world does.
Thanks, Roy Cooper.
Yeah. Yes. Don't worry, we'll get there. Hey, what is today? 6? 2 days. 2 days, we'll start phase 1. It'll be great.
Yeah, the trails will open. Here's the economic relief we're all looking for.
Go running. You can go
running. It would be great
again.
for me personally, but of course, we need economic relief. Let's open the state parks and trails. That's phase 1.
Oh, it's Leslie Knope's wet dream. We'll talk about Leslie Knope will actually come up later in this podcast.
Damn right.
What else we got? We can talk about what's going on, because maybe we'll get the Premier League back. Who knows?
We're getting the Bundesliga back.
Yes, we're not getting Le'un back though. That definitely is not happening.
Hold on. Shucks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
PSG wins again, I guess. Yeah, we'll talk a little about that. We'll have a topic that I came up with about 2 hours ago that doesn't take much prep, so it'll just be something light and fluffy.
Well, let's hope not.
Yeah, and then we'll do watch 4. Do you want to do any So Raw this week or no? I don't.
No.
Okay, that's fine, because like apparently almost everyone else, no one watched Raw this week, so.
I didn't even think about Raw this week. I was working on Monday night. I didn't even think about Raw.
I saw an article as I was scrolling through my feed that just said Raw post. I think it said lowest ratings ever. I don't know if it was ever, but there was lowest ratings and then something after that. And I'm pretty sure it was ever. So rough life for Vince McMahon. Let's start with other people having rough lives though. Oh, neat! I need the Galaxy Brain what Vince McMahon gif right now. Yeah. So last week we thought we had good news, or at least better news. The Premier League, they had a meeting. All 20 clubs were there. 3.5 hours, according to The Athletic. Teams were like, for the most part, yeah, let's get back in play, except for Karen Brady. But pretty much everybody else was like, yeah, one way or another, we need to do this. We're going to do it. We're getting there. There's some few people in the championship who are also kind of like, maybe not. But otherwise, play at neutral sites. Ball is part of Project Restart, which is definitely a name for something. And it'll be good to go. They're going to take a look at how the Bundesliga goes, as Wes mentioned a few minutes ago, in their return, how that will be. Although we'll talk a little bit about that coming up here. But it seems like tentatively we were hearing May 18th for teams to start training together again, and then I think June 8th was the penciled in date for matches to restart. So that was like the good news. Then an article came out yesterday, on The Athletic, from David Ornstein. Says, title, Club Medics query safety of Premier League return in 100-point email. And the things that the medics had concerns about included approving guidelines that still carry the risk of death, liability, insurance and testing for players, staff, and their families, possible transmission via sweat and goalkeeper glove, suspicion that some clubs are already ignoring guidelines, and the ability of emergency services to attend training ground incidents, amongst other things. Obviously, there was 100 points. It's funny that we had this big meeting last week that started to get people thinking, hey, maybe this will work, and then this maybe sort of quashes it. I don't know though, Wes. I have a feeling that the Premier League isn't super stupid and will address these things before they start again, hopefully soon. But I will admit that this article, reading it, and the concerns that the doctors had did put a bit of a damper on it, especially, and I heard you kind of laugh at this, the suspicions that some clubs are already ignoring guidelines. That's one of those where you're just like, what? So I don't know. Have you felt more optimistic or pessimistic or neither or both since we last spoke about the Premier League coming back in sort of soonish fashion?
Much like the tide of the ocean, it comes and it goes with me.
That's fair.
The whole Bundesliga thing gives me some hope.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that really gives me hope because, the Premier League, God bless them, the Premier League want to act like they're these great trailblazers. They're not. The Premier League are extremely reactionary. And a lot of times it seems like to what Germany does. Because, Germans are great. So
German engineering, babe.
German engineering. So if the Bundesliga is going to kick off, I think that's really big for everybody involved because if they can give us a good template of how things will go, then I think there's a good chance for others to follow suit. What's scary is if this thing blows up in the Bundesliga's face, there's no damn telling what we're going to end up with.
And
so, a lot of the Bundesliga kind of holds a lot of it in their hands.
Absolutely, and the worry is, as I was the same as you. I was like, ooh, Bundesliga's coming back with their cardboard cutout fans. It's going to be so much fun.
So down for that, by the way.
And then I read this article headline in the Washington Post of, with Germany reportedly set to allow pro soccer 10 in Bundesliga test positive for coronavirus. Now, that is a scary number, and I don't mean to minimize 10. That is 10 out of over 1,700 players, coaches, team physicians, and other staff members that were tested. So we're talking 1 in almost 200. And this is among multiple divisions. 3 were in Cologne. 1 was in second division Stuttgart. And it says all 10 who tested positive are not believed to be displaying any symptoms of COVID-19. So that there hopefully is some good news. That is just a very scary headline to read on the eve of hopefully the Bundesliga kicking back on. But yeah, hopefully, because like you said, Wes, this is it. If it works, then everybody who hasn't already canceled the season has hope to maybe come back. If it doesn't, and especially because Germany has been one of the better European countries at handling the coronavirus, if they can't get it going, that's when I agree with you. That's when it gets very scary for the Premier League to be like, well, if they can't do it, how the hell are we going to do it?
Yeah, because I mean, England have obviously sucked at this whole pandemic thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
God, as much as we try to talk good about England, they've handled this about as abysmally as any country out there has.
Yeah.
And once again, so you're coming down to if the Germans can't get it right, the hell England ain't gonna get it right.
Yeah.
So even if the Germans get this absolutely perfect, England's still gonna screw up a portion of it. So. Really, this is the right league to be trying it out.
Mm-hmm.
So at least we can go there. We're like, well, if anyone needs to try this and be the first to do it, it needs to be them, because Germany are pretty much the best well run out of all of them.
Mm-hmm. So
you know what? Let's let the Germans take the lead here and. Let's just hope. That's all we can do when we, as Hulk Hogan told us, when we say our prayers and drink our milk and eat our vitamins and do our training. When we're saying those prayers, we need to throw one up there to Das Bundesliga.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and hope things work.
And what we don't need is more people like Solomon Kalou, who had Hertha Berlin, according to this article from the Associated Press, as per SportsIllustrated.com. Solomon Kalou decided to run in while his teammates were getting tested and video it and be like laughing and shit and slapping hands and doing all the things you probably shouldn't be doing. So don't be an asshole. Don't be Solomon Kalou. Just don't do it, guys. Please. Transferring a little bit back here to the States, as we've been a little more want to do, I suppose. God, is it really not going to let me? Oh, no. Can I? Oh, fuck off, Washington Post. All right, let me see if I can find this article somewhere else, because this is actually a kind of interesting article. It's about Penn State football. So, yeah. I know this is riveting podcasting.
Penn State football, this can only be good.
Yeah.
Never any issues around good old State College. A
bastion of integrity.
Bastion of integrity, a scandal-free environment.
Oh yes, absolutely. Let's see.
James Franklin's doing great there. Really is. I like James Franklin doing a great job.
Yeah.
Please beat Ohio State.
Darn.
Please beat Ohio State.
Please.
Ohio State are the great Statons of everything.
That's true. I don't know. The article said at the beginning, basically he thinks that the Big Ten, Penn State coach suggests some Big Ten teams should start football season ahead of others. Which I think, and obviously I can't read more into the article because I apparently have used my one Washington Post article for the day. So awesome. This I pay for the athletics for this. I think that's interesting, Wes, because something we talked about last week was, what could the SEC just start kind of ahead of everyone else, and then the Pac-10 starts when the Pac-10 starts, and the ACC starts when the ACC starts. And one of the things we were talking about with the ACC was with how spread out it is. With you got all the way down to Florida State and Tallahassee to up to Boston College and Syracuse, and even out west-ish to Notre Dame.
You go as far south as Miami, Florida.
Excuse me, you're right. My apologies.
Kiss my Tallahassee. That's a Don Johnson joke, by the way.
I deserve that. I think this confirms that James Franklin obviously listens to the Foreign Affair podcast. So hello, James. The other, I think this is very interesting that people are actually starting to maybe suggest this, because I don't know how you felt last week when we were talking about it. It did feel like the most realistic of options that teams in a conference would start differently. But maybe, and it seems weird in the Big Ten, because the Big Ten, I feel like, would be one of the later conferences to start anyway, if we're going by the idea that maybe southern states will get through the first wave of COVID-19 before others. But I don't know. I think it'd be very weird to have teams in the same conference starting at different times, because I don't know how you have a legitimate conference schedule if only 5 or 6 of the Big Ten, which is 12 teams, I think.
It's not 10. I know that.
Exactly. I don't know. To me, this is, we kind of bandied it about this last week, but to hear an actual college football coach say it seems like a very weird idea.
I mean, I have no idea how you do it. I mean, these schedules are set. You can't flip and flop things but so much. So, if you're supposed to, let's just give I don't have Penn State schedule in front of me one bit, but let's just say in week 1, you're supposed to play Michigan, in week 2, Michigan State, week 3, Iowa, week 4, Ohio State, week 5, Wisconsin. We'll just go with that.
Sure.
So Michigan and Michigan State, well, they're not playing. Iowa and Wisconsin are playing. Ohio State's not playing. So we're going to do there, play 2 of those games and have 3. Oh, we got to make them up. I mean, I don't know how that works at all. I mean, I can understand taking away some non-conference games maybe, which could prove financially disastrous for some of those smaller schools who are locked into playing those games.
Oh, yeah.
That's for another podcast. But, I figure if you're going to start your conference play, the conferences need to rock and roll. You need to have everybody on board in the conference.
Absolutely. I think so too. I think that's very, very weird. And again, it could make for tricky scheduling for something like the ACC or the Big Ten. Maybe even the Pac-12. Because we don't think about the Pac-12 being crazy spread out, because I feel like a lot of times we just think it's all California, but it goes all the way up to Washington State, and it goes out to Utah and Arizona now. That's gonna be interesting to see what these conferences end up doing, especially if because there's gonna be a hard push for college football. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
As we talked about, college football comes into play for just about every part of the academic as well as athletic department. So without college football, you ain't doing much else.
No, that is for sure. Lastly, on this sports parts, want to give a shout out. I saw a little bit of the highlights of it. ESPN doing Korean baseball. The Korean baseball organization has started their season up. No fans, but they are up and running over there. Former Virginia Cavalier great Tyler Wilson over there with the Twins team that's over there. The LG Twins, as I'm sure there's other great former major leaguers over there. So yeah, this is super awesome. Stupid early start times. You're talking about 5:30 a.m. Game start during the week, and even earlier on the weekends. I mean, on Sunday, the game they're broadcasting starts at 1 a.m. Eastern. I might as well just stay up to watch that. But this is interesting. They're doing it with the Korean broadcast team, but English announcers. Some of the parts I saw, the person I just mentioned, Tyler Wilson, his wife was actually a guest, did a guest video conference on there from her home in Charlottesville, Virginia, talking about what it's like to be over there in Korea, because they were over there last year too, when it was actually a normal season. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out to ESPN. And a quick wag of the finger for trying to get the rights for free a couple weeks ago. That's stupid. Don't do that. You're ESPN. I know times are tough, but you have money. Don't get shit for free. But otherwise, good job, ESPN. Good job. I appreciate this.
No, remember they're always cutting people to cut salaries so we can pay Stephen A. Smith another $1 million a year.
Gots to.
Stephen A. Gots to get paid, baby.
Just
talked about LeBron James, the Dallas Cowboys. Those are the only things I know he ever talks about.
When I was younger and naive and actually thought Stephen A. Smith knew something, I just remembered repeating the word Slava Medvedenko like 300 times. So, here we go. But hey, good on ESPN for trying to pay the KBO and exposure bucks to start with. That was a really good attempt there. You had ESPN. Really good attempt. Let's do the thing that we were gonna do that I came up with 2 hours ago. Cool. We're gonna do a quick little draft, just 3 rounds, and it doesn't take much planning because it's not that hard of a topic. I think, Wes, we should draft in an alternating fashion our favorite / best board game.
Board game?
Board games. Do you enjoy board games? I hope you do.
I'm down with some board games. I can do that.
Can you name 3?
Yes, I can.
Okay, then we can do this. Go ahead. Would you like the first pick, or would you like to give it to me?
I'm gonna let you have the first pick because I just have to make sure of what I'm coming up with here.
Okay. I'm gonna go for my first pick. I'm gonna take my favorite game that I could never get anybody, unfortunately, to play with me, and that's Monopoly.
I'm agreeing with you on that. I'll do a different one, but I mean, Monopoly's like the all-time number 1 pick.
It's so good, but it's so hard to get through a real game. In my youth, we had to play a lot of modified rules to get through it, like in an hour. And I did enjoy that, but I also do enjoy, again, the more long-form games. It's just so hard to get people to actually, I don't mean to make a pun here, but buy in to playing. I didn't mean to. It was in my head, and then I was like, shit, this is going to be a pun. But I don't know. I really think it's a good game. I think they've been able to modernize it well through different things. I really loved the original Monopoly when I was growing up, and that's easily my favorite board game. So that'll be my number 1 pick.
You know, we used to play our Monopoly game. The only time of year we'd ever play was like the week that we went to the beach.
Nice.
I mean, it might literally go for like 2 days or something at a time. Which was cool, because it was always one, you could play.
Mm-hmm.
And, you could play 2 or 3 hours and then just put it down and go to the beach or go hang out or do whatever you want. You could always come back and pick up, just jot down whose turn it was and where they were, something like that. And, just hope my dad didn't cheat. But other than that, things were great.
Pete.
Yeah, Pete cheating on me. My number 1 pick, and a lot of them come back to me just things I remember doing growing up. Like I said, with Monopoly. So Monopoly, I'm gonna give Monopoly the overall number 1, but I will throw out a different one. I was a big Battleship fan.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
I was a big Battleship fan. Now, of course, you know my affinity for our fine United States military, all branches. Even you, Air Force. Whew, even the Air Force. So, of course, you give me naval vessels, and you give me the chance to call in bombardments.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm great, man. I'm great. So Battleship was a big go-to to me. And then, everything changed when suddenly came electronic Battleship.
A talking battleship, baby.
I didn't even have to talk anymore. I just had to go through a really difficult sequence of putting in L6 and not knowing if I ever actually said it right. But yeah, it was great. So I'm a battleshipper.
Very nice. That's a dope game. I had the talking battleship, and we had some good matches in our household with it. And whenever one named producer Jackie and I can't be in the same area, and when there'll be times when, especially if like we're in a hotel, like when she will go home to New York and we both have good internet, we'll play League of Legends. But when I have to go to like a work trip or something and there's crappy hotel internet and the internet's not good enough for something like that, we have played quite a few games of Battleship online, and it is so much fun. So I am a big thumbs up for that pick. For my second pick, I am going to. I guess this technically isn't a board game, but it is a game, I guess. I'm gonna do Taboo. This was a fun game that I would actually play a lot with my parents. We wouldn't play it the right way, but we would play it a different way. But I actually played, as an adult, I played the real way. Basically, it's just a game where you have to get your teammate to guess a word, but there's like 5 words on the card that you can't use to describe your word. So it's very fun. We actually did it at our work Christmas party this past December. We played as an entire department. We played a game of Taboo with 2 teams, and it got pretty heated. It got pretty exciting. There was a lot of throwing of cards, and there was a lot of, because you get a buzzer to buzz when you're on the opposite team. You get to look at the card, and so if they say one of the bad words, you hit the buzzer and you buzz them, and it feels so good to hit that buzzer. So I'm going to make Taboo, maybe not the sexiest number 2 pick, but since I already got the undisputed number 1, I can be a little riskier in my second pick. So I'm going to take Taboo.
Well, speaking of being risky, my number 2 game is much like you. I could never find anyone to play with me as a kid because you think Monopoly takes a while.
Yeah.
Hold my beer because I enjoy Risk.
This was in my head the entire time I was talking about Monopoly.
Because I enjoyed Risk. Once again, folks, you give me a military theme. You give me a chance to take over the world and be Napoleon, basically. Man, I'm all in it. I could never get anybody to finish it. I've never finished a game of Risk.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, nobody would ever play one and be like, this sucks, I'm bored, this is stupid. I'm like, no, you're saying that because I'm taking over the Soviet Union and you suck. It's like, don't be hating because I got that general mind going on here.
So
yes,
you're too advanced.
Diplomacy, conflict, and conquest. What great words for a 9-year-old, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just takes so much there.
Look, just because I know who Napoleon is doesn't mean that you have to make fun of me, Troy.
Yeah, Troy. Jesus.
Troy.
For my third pick, I had a lot of options. And I was actually just scrolling through different board games just to jog my memory and seeing things like Perfection jump up, which was this really weird game where it was like on a time limit, and you would get this jumble of shapes, and you'd have to match them. They're like pegs, and you'd have to match them into the right hole on the board, and it was like 50 of them, and you only had like, I think, 45 seconds to do it. Super tough. But that's not my pick. I think my pick is going to be. I'm gonna go with Do I want to go with that or I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go with Guess Who. I think Guess Who was a super fun, simple game. It's a lot like Battleship, a game you mentioned earlier. It involves deductive reasoning and logic and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. There's been a lot of variations of it. There's tons of people online who will make. They'll just have like printable sheets so you can make your own version of Guess Who. It's a lot of fun, whatever your age is. And I had a lot of fun playing it growing up. So there's so many other games I could have gone with. I loved Clue growing up. Connect 4 was a lot of fun. Even Yahtzee I've really enjoyed as I've gotten older. But I'm gonna go with Guess Who, because I think that game was so much fun and so easy, so quick. Not that many pieces. Really easy to reset the game. Fantastic.
Well, Ed, I think you've noticed a trend on my game so far. I like strategy. I'm a thinking man when it comes to games.
Yes.
So my final pick here in the draft,
Mm-hmm.
I will quote a great philosopher of our time, Mr. Homer Simpson,
uh-huh.
in the episode of Mr. Plow, where he plays his jingle and he insta-call, he calls everyone in town. And he sits back and says, "Now we play the waiting game." Oh, the waiting game sucks. Let's play Hungry Hungry Hippos.
Oh my god. Oh,
because that's so good. It's Hungry Hungry Hippos.
That's a really good pick.
Thank you. Callie also loves Hungry Hungry Hippos.
It's a really strong
You're not
pick.
supposed to be contributing to this show. Thank you.
I don't care.
You don't care. Be quiet. Shh. Quiet, chop. Yes, Hungry Hungry Hippos. It's strategy at its finest. It is nothing but pure. You have to know everything that's going on. No, you hit the damn thing as hard as you can, and pray to God you eat some marbles. Okay, I don't need you commenting on this. Be quiet, child. So Monopoly or Battleship Risk and Hungry Hungry Hippos. I'm a very well-rounded.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good draft, I must say. You might have won draft. I got some sleepers, but I think you overall won the draft.
Oh my goodness! I'm definitely not the Green Bay Packers of this draft, thank God.
That's true. That is
because if I was the Packers. For the number one pick, I'll take Operation. Jesus Christ.
Operation was good, but it's not that good.
It's like, Operation's great, but you don't need Operation. Packers.
No. You can pick up Operation Free Agency. That's very unnecessary. Solid draft. That was fun. We'll maybe do more things like this in the future. All right. Before we get to the Watch 4, we'll do our quick athletic plug in the hopes that one day they'll actually sponsor us. Wes, anything you wanna pimp out on the Athletic?
Yeah, I got some good stuff. Excuse me. Those 60 top moments in baseball history are they're so good. Fantastic. I mean, those are so good. They're doing these revisionist history articles.
Okay.
Especially for the Red Sox, like what if this had happened? What if that had happened?
Yeah. God,
I read the one the other day. Like, what if Bucky Dent hadn't hit the home run in '78?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that was fantastic. I'm gonna tell you, the Red Sox, and it might be everybody else too. I follow my team.
That's fair.
So I'm sorry, I'm not reading. Arizona Diamondbacks direct material. But the Red Sox writers have been putting out just insanely good content relating to the history of baseball, to all the different things that are going on, that have happened. And I mean, the Red Sox are such a storied franchise, and most of that is just complete tragedy, but still. But I mean, there's just been so much good stuff that they're putting out. I've been taking the time to go back and go through the 100 best baseball players of all time. I'm about 15 into that right now, and those are so good, so well written. I'm excited to keep going, especially You know what I've really enjoyed on that is the handful of profiles on the Negro League players.
Yes.
I mean, because
yes.
those guys. I mean, there's some. We've heard of Satchel Paige. We knew who Josh Gibson was. Obviously we knew who Jackie Robinson came through there. Obviously, so we knew. And here in the Greater Rocky Mountain area, we have O'Neal. One of the legends in Buck O'Neal. Or I'm sorry, Buck Leonard. We have Buck Leonard. Buck O'Neal. We have Buck Leonard, and he was a Negro League legend. So we have an idea here in our area about it, but getting in there, and especially when you get in those old guys back in the 20s and the 30s and the 1910s, there was so much legend because maybe they didn't keep the stats, or they're talking about he's the hardest thrower ever, and nowadays he probably throws like 88.
Yeah.
Walter Johnson, just for example, Walter Johnson, the big train, one of the greatest pitchers, especially the early era of baseball. They talk about, he threw the ball so fast, nobody could see it, blah, blah, blah. Modern day, and they talk about how huge he was. Modern day, he was like 6'1", 180. They're like, he was massive. He was a monster. And it's like, he's 6'1", 180. Now he's like a left-handed middle reliever, but okay. And he probably he might have thrown 90. So, but going back and just reading the legend, I absolutely love it. I'm a history guy anyway. So that's really been something enjoyable for me. I've read more freaking NFL coverage recently than I have since I've had the entire thing. For some reason, I'm really intrigued by this draft that they just had.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it was because of all the LSU guys who went. And I really liked this LSU team this past year that won the national title and set all these records. Check this. LSU, every single offensive player who played and was eligible for the draft this year and came out, every single one of them is now on an NFL roster.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's just sick. They're loaded. I read a good article the other day. I didn't quite finish it before I had to close it and leave, so I have it saved. But it's talking about the 10 best picks, and they're the best in conjunction with the team that drafted them with the system that they play. And Joe Burrow is number one. It's apparently the system that they're going to run in Cincinnati is tailor made to his skill set. And, it just so happened it worked out for him that, he was the guy who could go number one this year. So, just there's been some interesting stuff. As long as I don't have to deal with, the NFL being the NFL so much. As long as you get it, connected to college football, I'm happy. So, I've actually enjoyed NFL coverage. So, and I will implore anyone who likes the sartorial standpoint of things, go check out all the stuff they did last week about uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
So much good stuff on that. That was really fun. I like the old historical stuff with the uniforms and all that. I really enjoyed it. And going back and looking at the first year that Oakland broke out the Kelly green. Well, I'm sorry, it was the Kansas City Haze then, when they started wearing the Kelly green and the gold, and they called it the Virgin White. So, and there's a whole story about why Oakland has the elephant as their mascot, which is a really cool one too. That one goes all the way back to 1903.
Nice.
So Connie Mack, John McGraw. Oh, I love it, man. I love historic baseball.
Fantastic. I am gonna just do this quick one. This is back to soccer a little bit. And I alluded to France canceling Le Une and the rest of French football. But this article is simply titled, "We're Hanging Ourselves with Our Decisions When France Canceled Football." And you will see the very complex state of mind that people in France have about canceling their biggest sports. So it is a good read by Dominic Fifield and Jack Pitbrook. So go check it out. Again, it's really hard. It's really hard to go wrong on The Athletic. I mean, you could really just, for the most part, don't throw your dartboard at your screen. Don't throw it out of your screen to pick your story, because we're not responsible for broken screens.
We're not responsible for you being an idiot.
Yes, but you pretty much could if you printed out every athletic story and pasted them on the side of your house and threw a dart at the side of your house. Whatever you landed on, probably a good piece of writing. Just gonna say that. But yeah, it's a hell of a time over there in France. And hopefully, it's not hopefully, but it is part of the reason I believe, amongst all the other reasons, that England is so nervous about the even mentioning canceling the rest of the Premier League season. So good insight there.
Hey,
That'll do it for.
don't forget the article that we actually shot back and forth the other day.
Oh yeah.
Manchester United still don't know what the hell they're doing with their lives.
Yeah, just to quickly bring it up, why Manchester Football no longer want a director, or sorry, why Manchester United no longer want a director of football. Something we've been literally talking about on this podcast for maybe the last 2 to 3 years, that United needs a director of football.
And they're actively seeking one, and all this shit they're actively doing.
Oh, man. And then it's like, nah, we good. We have Ed Woodward. Why would we need that? Oh, thank you, United, for giving us smiles in these trying times.
Basically, that's the summation at the end of it. Is we've got Ed Woodward. He's not a football guy, but he sure does know how to make us a lot of money. It's like, I don't even know why you wrote this story. Shit, we've been literally saying, everyone's been saying this for 3 years. We understand he makes a lot of money and knows shit all about football. So
pretty much. Let's head into Watch 4, though, Wes. What are you watching in the week that was or the week that will be?
And I'll tell you, I'm going to start off with a good one, and then I'm going to bring up one that I've been tippy-toeing around.
Okay.
Just, I've been tippy-toeing around it because I can't really admit that this happened.
Okay.
Well, hold on 2 seconds for me. Just 2 seconds.
All right, hold on 2 seconds. It's what you need.
Okay, so you'll be proud of me on this one, Ed, because I am using my new Hulu subscription, which I pay for, right?
Yeah,
Of course, I pay for my Hulu. I mean, why would I not pay for my Hulu, right? Hulu's
absolutely.
I started watching Community.
What? Wait, what?
Yes. Finally.
I'm sorry. Wait.
Remember, I'd seen like an episode or two here and there. I always meant to watch Community, but I missed the beginning of it, so I was like, well, I'll go back and watch it one day.
Okay, so something broke in my brain to where I thought for some reason you'd seen like at least a good amount of Community. Oh, okay.
I'd seen here and there episodes. I remember seeing I think the first 2 episodes, and then I would catch one here and there. I always knew kind of what was going on in Community, but I never actually sat and watched Community.
Okay.
And it started at a time, I think I was TiVo-less or DVR-less, and I had missed like an entire season of it, and I was like, shit, one day I'll find this somehow. So, yeah, bro. So now I'm getting Community. I'm getting double barrel Community, and you know what I say? You know what I mean?
Oh, so wait. So how far into Community are you?
I think I'm 6 episodes in.
Yeah, it's God, just thinking back, season 1 is at least up until like the episode of season 1. It's like one of the last couple, and you'll know when you get to it. Until that point, Community is like pretty standard, like sitcom stuff. Like it is funny. Like you can tell there's something maybe special there. Right. But when it hits, I'll just say it. When it hits the paintball episode, I think it's called Modern Warfare. Okay. Near the end of the season, that's when it makes the jump from this is the show. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, season 1 is like really generic. Like it's funny, but it's generic. And then from Modern Warfare through the rest of the show is you're like, oh, okay, this is actually what Community is. That makes perfect sense now. Why when I hear people talk about it. Okay, yeah, no, that's super good. I'm so happy for you.
Yay!
Yay.
Okay, so I've set you up now with my intellectual greatness.
Oh God, what's coming now?
So for the last 2 months, Ed,
Mm-hmm.
on Sunday nights, when I could be doing so many other things with my life,
Uh-huh.
I turn it to a channel that sickens me to actually watch it.
Actually, I already know now because I follow your Twitter feed. I actually know where you're going with this. Yeah.
Oh my God, and all you folks out there who follow my Twitter feed, I know you already are just shaking your head.
Mm-hmm.
When I watch 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days. Oh my God. I don't do reality television, but by God, I do this show, and I can't figure out how much of this is actually reality.
Oh my God.
There are just certain things where every time, when maybe you've had a rough day, maybe you feel like, your boss doesn't appreciate you, or maybe your significant other, you get those little inklings like, man, is this where I need to be? Am I doing the right thing with my life? What am I doing with my life? You can turn on this show, and after an hour and a half, 2 hours, however damn long that episode is, you can look in the mirror and say, you know what, buddy? Your life's not that bad.
That's true.
Because there's a 62-year-old man wandering around the Ukraine looking for his, air quote, girlfriend of 7 years that he's never met, never spoken to live, never seen on a video cam or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But he has sent her over $100,000 and has booked 3 trips to go with her somewhere, and she stood him up on every one. But it's still, quote, his girlfriend, and he is, like, literally running around the Ukraine trying to hunt her down. Oh, and did I mention that she's a 27-year-old blonde Ukrainian model?
Of course.
And he's a 62-year-old goober from Las Vegas.
Oh,
His name's Dave.
Of course it is.
He's a Dave. Such a Dave.
Such a Dave. So what channel is this on?
TLC.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Can't understand how it's called the Learning Channel anymore, because it's basically 600-pound people, midgets, and 90 Day Fiancés. That's the entire channel at this point.
That kind of sounds like what the Learning America's doing now. So.
And my beloved Dr. Pimple Popper.
There you go. God,
Yeah. So that's the one that I'm coming out of my TV closet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proudly telling the world that I watched 90 Day Fiance. And if you want to follow my Twitter page, I will live tweet that shit because it trips me out.
Oh boy!
And I have just 2 words to go out on.
Mm-hmm.
Big Ed.
Sounds like fun.
He is not like the Ed that I know.
Sweet Jesus, Mary Joseph. All right, I don't know how I can possibly top that, but I will try. I mentioned it earlier on the pod here. I watched tonight at dinner with one named producer Jackie. Finally, not community, the Parks and Recreation special that aired live last Thursday on NBC. Man, it is so good to see the Parks and Rec gang back, including because I knew like the main cast would be there, the main 10, I guess you could call them, but there were some people who showed up I did not expect to show up. So I will leave that as a little surprise out there for you. And it closed the show, and of course, the only way the show could be closed with another wonderful rendition of 5,000 Candles in the Wind, which, as we know, loyal listeners of the podcast, has since been usurped by the hit song 10,000 Candles in the Wind. You're welcome. But yeah, it's a really good show. It made me realize that Chris Pratt is starting to look more and more like Christian Bale, which is really weird. But yeah, other than that, it was just it had one of those like very special episode feels to it, like when it's like, oh, this week on a very special episode of Growing Pains, Johnny gets touched in his no-no place, like that sort of thing. It did sort of feel a little bit like that. Poor Kirk Cameron, but yeah, they still managed to inject the regular Parks and Rec humor and heart enough into it that it didn't feel too much like an after school special. So I did appreciate that. Yeah, a lot of fun. If you enjoyed Parks and Rec at all, it's a definite must watch. And hopefully it will not take another pandemic to get that group together again, because that was a ton of fun. Oh, Big Ed. With the tiniest of puppies. Oh, that's a good name. All right. So with that,
it's funny because he's Big Ed and he's legit 4'11".
With a lovely pony.
And absolutely no neck.
Good times. So I think that's going to do it for this, because we're not doing so early, obviously. That's going to do it for this edition of the Foreign Affair podcast. Once again, thanks to NGSC Sports at ngscsports.com. We never stop, even in the middle of the pandemic. You can find them on the social as well as us on Twitter. We are at AFA Pod as a collective. Wes, you are, where they can find more about 90 Day Fiancé.
I'm at Wes Bradshaw 21.
And I am at Edward Green, where you will not find out more about 90 Day Fiancé. You can also find us at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube via our parent show, The All New Sports Show, and email us at allnewsportshow@gmail.com. Thanks to our podcast providers, including Podbean.com, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, the TuneIn Radio app, Google Play Music, and the iTunes Music Store. So that is going to do it for this episode. As I mentioned, we will be back next week, Lord willing, with another edition of the pod, and we'll do some more fun stuff and talk about how terribly things go in Germany. I'm just kidding. It's going to be great, folks. I believe in the Germans. Can't believe I'm saying that. But before we
Germany.
Before we get out of here, Wes, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Apparently we might play baseball just in like 3 or 4 random locations. I don't know. I don't really know what to add to that. No, that's it. I'm good. Yeah, we'll see.
That's a happy time. Happy time. But big thank you again to at Wes Bradshaw 21 over there for being there with us and still continuing this podcast, because it is so much fun to be able to do this once a week and get out or air quotes get out and do something. So
right, last thing for me, Callie, do you want to tell everybody good night, since it's your birthday? It's been your birthday week.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Good night, little 8-year-old child. Remember when we started this? She was like, what, 2 or 3?
Yeah, I guess so.
She used to like try to sneak through the room to go crawl in my bed, and now she's just like, hey, I'm going to get in your bed, bye. So, yeah. You folks thought I was going to say now she sleeps in her own bed.
Yeah.
Good one.
Joke's on you.
Joke's on you, because no, she still kicks the hell out of me at night. So.
Oh my God. That's for my calling crime, Wes Bradshaw. I'm Edward Green. Thank you so much for continuing to join us here on the Foreign Affair podcast. Until next time, everyone, please stay safe, wash your hands, and find a good Twitch stream out there to enjoy, because football still just so close, so far away.
And good night, whoever the hell owns Newcastle. Still think it's my national element.
It's as hey, I haven't heard differently. So
I haven't heard different yet. There's still time.
I guess. There's still time. It will fail.
Always time.
You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on NGSCSports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.